Well, hello everybody. Welcome to game day two of the Crescent City Cup. My name's David Webb, a Scrabble player from England, and I'm with Jesse Day from America.
How do you do, everyone?
And the game is Will Anderson against Austin SHIN. Now I'm getting a delayed.
David, make sure to log out of the chat. It's a classic problem. I made the exact same error yesterday.
Right, what do I need to do?
Meanwhile, while David fixes his audio issues, it looks like both of our players have nice powerhouse racks to start this one. And I suspect that Austin is going to kick us off with the bingo here. I think this is a pretty high probability combination right here. So I think I don't think he's going to spend too long contemplating this particular rack. And it looks like we're going to have some fireworks early because Will just picked up a satire rack, satire I, and you don't have to have Will's level of word knowledge to be able to find a word out of that one. And sure enough, looks like Austin spent a couple of seconds thinking about whether to put the S on the back of Swig or in front. He puts it in front so that there's no longer a twig hook on the board, and Will gets to choose for himself how artfully he can bingo here. And it goes without saying that I feel that I repeat myself every time I'm on cast, but truly we have two former North American champions on in this particular encounter. So we're in for a treat, everyone. And it looks like Will is deciding not to rush the issue on this, looking through his options for the absolute optimal placement of his high probability tile combination. Some players here might be tempted to get this one down as fast as possible and save time, but Will is seeing this, I think, as an opportunity to sculpt the board to his liking. And on the other side, Austin has the first blank to emerge out of the bag. And it looks rather probable that we're going to see 3 bingos in a row here and coming down on this board, at the very least. There are some 8-letter options that Austin could get depending on what Will plays. For instance, something like pre-bound could be an option to the past tense of pre-bind to bind in advance. Can't say exactly why that's a word, but I'm sure Austin knows it. So it's actually quite fascinating that Will is taking this long in this move. I find that these moves are kind of a trap. There are a lot of different options, and they're rather close to each other. Like I would think that you would want to hook Swig and play area stuff, but maybe he doesn't want to do that because of the hooks. Okay, and he's picked inertias for 68. Not leaving too much for Austin in response, but as we know, thanks to our omniscience, Austin is going to get a bingo down here. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how long Austin spends thinking about this one. Also, he's He's got his tiles at the tile rack. You get the sense that he just wants to put down Upborn. And wow. It looks like Will has also picked up a very nice combo. In fact, his rack is not all that different from the rack he just had. Swap out a IT for a MR, and very nice fit. But does it give Will back a triple? Oh boy. Yep. Can't fault Austin for that one. That's just one of those quirks of fate. It's an acceptable risk of putting the E in the triple lane. I think a lot of people, after that happened, would very likely say, "Oh, I must have made the wrong play because he was able to triple." But Austin's got enough mileage under his belt that I don't think he's going to let that rattle him too much. And I'm pretty sure it was the right play. It's a lot of points. Looks like it was 85. And then the snapback is 140-point triple. What's great for Austin is he's actually not down all that far here. He's only down 64 points. So there's a lot of game left to be played. It looks like the bingo madness is going to subside here for a turn, I think. There aren't too many bingos with 2 Ys in them on Will's side. Although if there were bingos like that, Will is going to know them because I think he's at a point of proficiency with the Collins lexicon where he's got the entire book available to him. And Austin is ideally is a turn away from a bingo here. He has to figure out how to clean this up and keep something, score a few points, and keep a bingo prone lead. He really wants to be keeping something out of that AELNT bunch. Well, even the P actually is like quite copacetic with the rest of the tiles in this rack. So he could play flip the top left. That's 21 points. It's probably fewer points than I'd like to score in Austin's shoes. So I think he has likely spotted that and he's looking for superior options. Ideally, you'd find a way to get something over on the right, overlapping that triple letter score. But you really want to play off the F, which is the worst tile in this rack. You could play Pelf on the right side, 23 points at 14G. Yeah, and he's putting down flip. I think that's a very reasonable move. Will nods in acknowledgement of a very reasonable move by his opponent. And so now Will is in a position where he's going to have to get a little creative here. How is he best going to ditch? Oh, and he's already made his decisions. He's going to play Hootie.
Hello, Jesse. Can you hear me now?
Excellent. The cavalry is here.
Wow, what have I missed? This looks
4
amazing.
bingos in a row. Yeah.
Okay, I should drop off the call more often, I think, then.
And another one incoming, I suspect. I think,
Oh, wow.
I think Austin might be able to find this one. This is a real firecracker of a game right here.
Yeah, how many spots does he have for Hearten, if any? Oh, along the top.
Right. He can also put down Earthen on the bottom right. The possibilities are endless with this one.
Wow, and Austin's
hurting
behind at the
it.
moment, so this should bring him fairly close.
Yeah, especially when your opponent triples on you. It's a great feeling when you tie the score up, like before the end of the game, and you can see Will kind of shaking in his head in acknowledgement that this game is not going to be a done deal. He's got a lot more work to put in here.
Yeah, and he hasn't got a fantastic rack either.
No, he has some chances to clean this up. One word that I see that looks promising is guanay, which I think is some kind of South American rodent, raptor, mammal thing. But guanay plays nicely on the bottom right, and
Oh, parallel to Hootie.
yeah, don't know how much better he's going to do than that.
Yeah, it's not a bingo-y rack for Will, but it is a balanced rack, and he's got a scoring consonant in there in the Y, so he should be able to get a half-decent score.
Right, he really just needs Austin to stop bingoing.
Well, I think he'll achieve that with Austin's current rack.
And one of the side effects of all these high probability bingos is that both players have only used about 5 minutes each. So they're going to have a lot of time to optimize the end of this game.
Yeah, good play by Will. I'm not sure that Will is a particularly well-known player certainly in England. Can you tell us a little bit about his sort of Scrabble career and his involvement in Collins games?
Absolutely. Will is a rare breed in that he plays at a high level in both TWL and in CSW. And he continues to separate the two dictionaries. He plays in both of them. I suspect he's going to play TWL at this year's Nationals, although we'll see, I guess. But yeah, he's been the U.S. national champion. He represented the United States at the Alchemist Cup, which is with the CSW lexicon. So he has a real command over the lexicon that's probably second only to Nigel Richards, our world number one.
That's pretty impressive if he's continuing to play with both dictionaries.
It doesn't seem to give him that many problems, actually. He's talked about how he tends to play about one Collins phony per TWL tournament in about 20 games. I mean, that's a very low rate indeed. So just speaks to how hard he's worked on it and also his innate genius for this stuff.
Yeah, and how does he split his time between Collins games and TW games in the tournaments that he enters?
That's a great question. I think he's quite opportunistic about it. I think he'll play either. He had an amazing feat last year where he played the U.S. national champion in U.S. national championship in TWL, came I believe third or top 5. Actually, this was 2 years ago in Buffalo. My apologies. But he did that, and then he won the Niagara Falls tournament, which was the next weekend in Collins. He switched lexicons on consecutive weekends and won the biggest prize Collins tournament in the world that year, I believe. So,
wow, impressive achievement.
And Austin finds a nice overlap here. Ocelot. I was thinking about Ocelot, but I had not found that particular spot.
Yeah, just one S and one blank to come for hooking an S on the end of it.
Right, very important consideration. So we have 303 to 300. It's essentially a dead heat right here. And Will has the X, and we'll be looking to capitalize on it.
Yeah, just looking around the board for any hot spots for the X, and none is jumping out at me. I guess Vex may be in the penultimate column, making Lav and Oi.
Right, slightly unideal because it does ditch his E. It's not like a particularly wonderful leave, but it is quite a few points, and wouldn't surprise me if he went for that option.
Yeah, it does set up scoring opportunities in the final column as well, so he may prefer something less volatile. But very close game with just 3 points between them.
This is really a treat.
Absolutely. I mean, these are two extremely strong players. I was looking at their ratings, and there's very little between them in terms of their ratings. And I know, well, I'm very familiar with Austin from his time in England, and he is one of the very, very best players. So this is a high quality match we're watching.
Interesting. So Wells lined up vexed. I suspect it's for the same spot, but tacking on the T. And perhaps that's related to the defensive concerns that you brought up, where Vex would be a little harder to overlap if it's on that penultimate column.
Yeah, and also playing off the extra tile increases his chances of drawing an S or a blank.
And he's thinking about Axe at the top, which is quite a few points. Axe making the new CSW 19 word Bae, B-A-E, a delight of the modern English language. And that Axe is 45 points.
Wow, that's a big score.
We hadn't necessarily looked at it that or I had not looked at it that closely because of the dire DOTV leave, but for that many points, it would be pretty tempting to play that.
Yeah, and it's not giving a particularly hot opportunity to Austin in the way that a column 14 play would give Austin first shot at column 15.
Right.
But this is
like... Sorry, go ahead.
This is a better rack leave.
Yeah, I think that he was also worried about Austin being able to score a lot at on that fifth row. But Vexed is 40 points, so it's not like he's leaving that many points on the table.
So what would the scoring opportunity have been in the fifth row had Will played Axe?
I meant more to block, maybe blocking the words that go after BA.
Okay.
And so Austin turns around with Jarvie. I thought that's what he was going to do. It's 32. Brings him pretty much level and turns over a bunch of tiles in hunt of the blank. But Will is going to have some options here, I think.
Yeah, no scoring tiles on Will's rack. Does he have a bingo?
He does, David. He has several.
Oh, okay. Ah, yeah.
I don't mean to stump you there.
No,
I'm still. This is my second day of commentating ever, so I'm working on the right level of suspense.
No, this is the one I saw. Were there others?
I think he also had Ordalian through that R that just got exposed.
Very nice.
But Ordalian would have set up an S hook, and I think that would have been worse than this. So Gonadio comes down for the 6th bingo of the game so far, with a blank unseen.
And this could be quite critical because Austin is not in a position to respond with a W, U, and B on his rack. Pretty non-synergetic.
It's true. Oh, the blank emerges on a Will's rack. He's going to be chuffed to see that. But it's not over for Austin here because I think he's going to have a pretty strong option in response here.
Does he have something good in the bottom row?
Well, one thing I see here is through the L, he can play Wambled, or Wamble or Wambled. To Wamble It's one of these beautiful onomatopoeias. To wamble is to walk unsteadily. So it's kind of to amble in a wacky fashion. But wambled would be 45, and from Austin's perspective, he could draw the blank after that. So I suspect that's what he's going to think about. He also has 15 minutes to figure out any number of superior moves. So it'd be interesting to see how quickly he plays this.
Yeah, and from Austin's perspective, the Q is still out there, so retaining the U is not as bad as it might otherwise be. And there's also turning over 6 tiles for giving him an opportunity of drawing the blank. So Wambled has got a lot of pluses from Austin's perspective, given the unseen tiles.
That's a fantastic point about the Q, right? From his perspective, yeah, the U could lead into a very synergetic Q play and possibly allow him to chase down Will without even bingoing again.
And just looking at the unseen tiles, I mean, there are bingos amongst them, and there are floaters on the board. So although Austin's rack at the moment is pretty grim, there is still the potential for another bingo for Austin. So certainly this game is not home and dry for Will.
Another choice word on Austin's rack is bumwad. I don't think it plays anywhere, but just from a sophomore point of view, I felt compelled to bring that up.
Well, yeah, and it's a good word. And also, isn't dwarm good? DWAUM.
Absolutely.
I'm just
Another
thinking about
strong option.
Yeah, I mean, there's not many words which get rid of BU. Well, that doesn't get rid of the B, but anything which gets rid of a W and a U and a high-scoring tile is useful to know.
It makes sense that Austin's taking a little while to contemplate this. I don't know if he's going to find anything better than Wamble, but he might as well. This is a pretty pivotal move, and if he does play Wamble, there will only be 6 tiles in the bag. So,
do you think Austin wants to keep the bottom row open, or is he just looking for a better option in the bottom row?
it's hard to say, really. I think he really desperately needs the points. I don't. The L is not a wonderful tile to bingo through, even if he leaves it open. So I would love to be able to tune into Austin's mental monologue right now. Incidentally, the voting is now open for your favorite Scrabble tournament. Oh no, it's not really that. It's voting for the next matchup you want to see on the live stream. If you're tuned into us on Twitch, then you should see a poll from our friendly Moobot allowing you to vote on your next matchup. So please do that. This stream exists for your benefit, and make yourselves heard. There's something very nice in the commentary about the earlier choice of vexed as opposed to vex, and this is something that I didn't think of. But if vex had gone down, then oye takes a z, and so Will actually was preventing zit plays like zit xi and oyes. So that's something that we missed, or that I missed certainly. I think that's a really astute call from our viewer on that one.
I agree. Adding that extra T definitely restricts the opportunities available in the final column. Well, Austin's no longer got Wambled set up on his rack.
Yes, it's a fascinating move.
And what do you think he's actually thinking about? I mean, because he's spent probably 3 or 4 minutes on this move now. I mean, what are the choices that are serious candidates?
Frankly, I'm not sure. I think he could be thinking about trying to play on the bottom row in a way that sets up a bingo lane. Like if he just plays wall, WAUL, then there's a potential for ED ending bingos on the row just above that. So that would be a massive point sacrifice, and I don't think it's warranted here, but it's a fair thing to consider.
Yeah, I
And
guess also if he plays Wambled, he may be concerned about the A being underneath the triple letter square and providing Will the opportunity of a 5-letter play
well,
in the penultimate row.
The Z is unseen, right? So he
Oh,
might think that Will is about to crush him with a Z play, but actually, I would argue the opposite. He needs that volatility. I mean, we happen to know that Will doesn't have the Z, but given that Austin's trailing by 67, I actually think this is a golden opportunity to set up that Z play, and if nothing else, force Will to exert effort to block.
maybe he's wondering if that's an excessive amount of volatility to introduce. Maybe he's thinking that he's only one bingo behind and he doesn't need to open the board up with that extra hotspot.
Right. It could just lead to immediate defeat. Right. That is the concern. So I understand his apprehension. Immediate defeat, as in 64 point Z play, puts him down to 80 again, 4 tiles in the bag. He's not likely to win from there for sure. But I think it's a gamble that he should take and that he will take here. And he's been thinking about this move now for 6 minutes. It's worth pointing out. So recognizing the gravitas of the... Oh, what is this? Very interesting.
Is he thinking about Mule? If he is, maybe that's because would be thinking of trying to maximize the ability to play a bingo in the penultimate row by minimizing the number of overlapping tiles.
I feel that that's a red herring. He might be thinking about it. I think the board is open enough that he doesn't need to do such things. But you're right that could be what he has on his mind. It's a challenging spot for sure. He recognizes the gravitas, and I think still that he will play Wamble, but my confidence level has gone down.
Are there any suggestions from the Twitcherati who are watching?
Well, they always have suggestions. Some of them best not acted upon. Mew/Bam. Is that what he was looking at? Interesting. So that would be
underneath inertias.
Right. I have not looked over there. I don't think he can do that. But then again, it's not really up to me to say what he can and can't do. So
just thinking about the Wambled play, which he did spot very early and hasn't played yet, he may simply not like the idea of having a rack cleave constituting a solitary U. That's probably the worst rack cleave of all the candidate plays we've seen him considering.
That's a good point. And it's also from Austin's perspective, there's an F and a K and a Z unseen. And he's probably thinking that he's likely to get crushed in response if he does play Wamble. Of course, through a quirk of fate that we get to be aware of as viewers, actually, Will has none of those 3 letters. And the probability of that is probably not super high. But Austin is also trailing and needs to gamble a bit. Probably his chances of victory are not that high, regardless of what he does. So, all right, Wambled after a 9-minute tank is lined up again.
There are only 19 tiles in the bag, and Austin is behind, so it's possible he's a bit reticent about burning 6 tiles, which expedites the end of the game, as opposed to playing a fewer number, which would give him maybe more shots at bingoing.
Right, and it's important to mention that there's 19 unseen tiles. That means there's only 12 tiles in the bag because Will has 7 of them. So he's grudgingly put down Wambled, and that's going to leave 6 letters in the bag after Austin's pick.
Well, he needs a good draw right now.
Well, I think he's very likely to get it. And if I'm Will, I would be. I think we're going to see a long think from Will here.
Yeah, because this has worked for Austin in terms of placing the A underneath the triple letter square. He has drawn the Z. He's got ZE. Austin's got a 60-point play unless Will blocks it.
And he's only down 22 points. So that 60-point play is enough to get him right level.
Wow. And if Will sticks an eye out in the open, I think Austin has Kunzites.
Wow. That would be a treat. I don't think Will do that, but I will selfishly hope that he does, because that would be a pretty cool thing to see.
Well, that rack initially looked really good for Will with the Q and the blank, but I'm not seeing a ton of Q spots available. And certainly none which... And in terms of any which block the Wambled spot.
Right. So there is a scoring play that our astute chat followers have come up with, which is sunk through the N, CINQ. And that's at a cool 35 points and would put Will up 57 total. But it doesn't do anything to contain the bottom of the board. And will certainly be thinking about doing something to try to block that Z spot.
So from Will's perspective, there are 13 unseen tiles, so 7 of them are on Austin's rack. So there's an evens chance that Austin has got the Z, which is quite a high probability.
All right, so he's lined up sunk, and he does so and then frowns slightly. I think that Will, if he plays sunk, is possibly still favored to win. Well, definitely favored to win just because he has the blank. But likely what you're going to see is that Will's going to play sunk. Austin plays ZE quickly to save time. And then there's going to be one tile in the bag. And that's where we're really going to get to see Will show his mettle as a top expert. See how he navigates that pre-endgame. Are there other spots where Austin had Zest lined up? It's an interesting...
Yeah, where was he going to play that?
Where that goes. I'm looking around.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anywhere for Zest.
Well, I think it's natural in Austin's position to not want to telegraph. Sorry, go ahead.
Isn't it Zest and Dingiest, perhaps?
Oh, interesting. I did not spot that at all. Thank you for pointing that out. I guess that's a fallback option, potentially. He can also play Says at the bottom. Unlikely to be better, but just worth bringing up. SEZ making Za and U.
Yeah.
So the actual letters in the pool, as far as I can see, are D, F, I, L, O, and another U. And when Will plays sunk, I think the thing that will determine whether he wins or not is how many of the vowels he picks up. There are 3 vowels unseen and 3 consonants. And I think he will likely lose if he draws 2 of the vowels, just because he won't be able to score enough, won't be able to bingo. So I think this is a true 50-50, unless Will can come up with something really clever to skew the odds further in his favor. He could very reasonably burn the blank here. I'm sure he's thinking about it.
Just wondering what he can do if he burns the blank. Because he can't really take out that Z spot above the A of Wambled.
He could play Coquille to the I, burning the blank.
Yeah.
For the viewing public, I'm not saying that's a superior option. I'm just trying to list out some possibilities. I think he's going to settle for sunk, and let's see how many vowels he draws.
Yeah, because this is it. If he draws vowels, he may lose. If he doesn't draw vowels, he's a firm favourite.
It's a spin of the roulette wheel here. Oh, and there's already 2 vowels there. He's gonna be good, I think.
Yeah, he may even be bingoing.
Exactly. But let's not count out our hometown hero quite yet. As I mentioned on the broadcast yesterday, Austin adopted NOLA native on home turf. So I'm sure many of the people tuned into this broadcast are rooting for him right now. He pulls DU out of the bag.
Wow, so Austin are the scores correct at the moment? Is Austin ahead by 9 points?
He's up by 9, but he's in a position that, from experience, you dread to be in, which is when you're facing Will Anderson and he probably has a blank, because most of the time, if there's a bingo, he's going to find it. So that's the question: is there a bingo?
Does
Perhaps
4 lie take a D?
No.
Just an S.
Perhaps this isn't the slam dunk that we or that I made it out to be. He has a very strong scoring play on the right. I think that might actually be how he wins this one. He has Feria? No, he does not have Feria. I misread his rack. Can he play on... Is there something that goes on the right side?
What, parallel to vexed?
Ferie? No. Never mind. Got a little optimistic there. Wow, what is he going to do? This is very interesting.
He could play foil and femme, because they're fairly level, so maybe all he needs to do is go out in 2 with half-decent scores each turn.
He can also burn the blank and play freeze to the ZE, which is 39, leaves ILO. The question about that one is, I think that's a losing move for him. I think there's an O unseen, and that ILO is often not going to be able to go out. So I actually don't think freeze is going to cut it for him.
It's a big score, though. And are there any good K spots for Austin?
Yeah, that is the question. So that's what Will is looking at right now. He's basically pretending that Austin has an 8-tile rack with a O in it, and he's trying to figure out all of Austin's highest scoring plays. And I actually don't think that Austin can do all that much. What does he have? He can play Knut and Dingiest. for 23. It's not too much to fear. You can underlap. You can make Utu and underlap, but I don't. You can play. Yeah, well, just UNS. That's not going to do all that much.
I think this is looking pretty grim in terms of Austin's winning prospects.
Right. He just needs to have. He needs to have. He doesn't have. He's not threatening that much here.
I'm just looking around the board to see where the K can go, and there's really, really limited.
Right. So in that case, and as the chat is pointing out, a lot of times in a tight end game, it's a question of getting yourself to go out first. He's playing freeze. Boy. Oh, and this is why he's going to think about it. So this is better. I was thinking freeze with 2 E's, but with the IEZE, he actually is going to... I don't know about this. He's going to have ELOO, and I think he's only going to have 1 outplay.
So he would have Lude onto the D of Ganadiel. Is that it?
Is there anywhere for Oleo? Oh, there is. Top left.
And of.
Oleo. And of. Okay, so he's in the clear. And Austin, I'm sure knows it. Yeah, and certainly, without a doubt, Will calculated that. There's no question at his caliber. He went through. I'm sure he went through every one of the letters. ELO. What does the D do? Goes out. I'm sure he looked at the U, which would have looked bad, but even the U would have been okay because he would have had Jewel for 14 and Lude, L-O-U-E-D, playing into that D from Grenadiel. So I'm sure that I'm sure Will calculated this one pretty closely, maybe even exactly for each of those letters. And those are the things that you get to do when you're a brilliant-minded champion like Mr. Will.
Yeah, plus all of the time that was saved earlier on in the game by getting the bingos down quickly, stored up some time, which was able to be used at a time like this when he really needed it.
Exactly. Great time management for sure.
So Austin now 30 points behind, just looking to minimize his losing spread. And that's not easy, because there just aren't a ton of candidate plays. I think the Knut and Dingiest one is there, but not a huge number of others.
One of our clever viewers points out that even if Will had played freeze, EEZE, he actually would have had Olio, O-L-I-O, to go out. So
yeah, good observation.
That's so as it turns out, my initial suggestion not so inferior perhaps. Although you'd have to go through the other eventualities. But... Wow, what a treat of a game! I mean, it's hard to. I don't know if I can actually point to a mistake from either of these players.
No, very high quality game, and I think these are the sorts of players who are able to deliver high quality games time and time again, and that's why they're able to be up there at the at the top in terms of the Scrabble rankings.
Right, it's almost a shame that we have to have these two titans knocking. Like, it's almost a shame someone had to lose this game. But I guess the beauty of Scrabble is that we're all going to meet again, and maybe Will and Austin will spar again later this tournament. Let's hope so.
Yeah, it's a very high quality field at the Crescent City Cup this year, and there's a lot of bunching at the top. But this is only, well, this is the start of day two, but certainly at the end of day one, there were a lot of the players were within just one game of the leader, who was on 7-1.
Right, David Koenig was first into the clubhouse yesterday, and then Will and Austin are part of a small peloton with Jason Keller and Brad Whitmarsh. So really anyone's tournament. Early
Yeah,
days yet.
and certainly the pack on 6-2 were fairly close in terms of spread as well.
Right.
So
And Austin maximizing his time. Didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, that's fine. What's happened to Austin's clock? As this looks quite funky the way it's zooming down.
Wow, it's important to know down to the decimal place how much time you have.
Oh, that's seconds and tenths of seconds.
That's right.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, so that's slightly worse than Knut and Dingiest, I believe. And Will goes out. Did he make 500? I do believe he did.
Wow, really high scoring game. Both of them very close to 500. Will just above and Austin slightly below.
I'm actually slightly surprised that this wasn't a 1,000-pointer, but this certainly was a shootout.
Whether you have the Z or not, it's just so good.
Right, and you can see Will in the aftermath pointing at the Z spot, and that must have caused him a good measure of anxiety when he played Sung.
Yeah, well, that certainly worked out well for us as viewers, that Z spot, or Z spot rather.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know whether to adapt to Z wholeheartedly, force you to say Z. This is a Collins. I will say Z. This is Collins. We have international viewership with we have 84 viewers right now live, which is just a fantastic number. I'll shout out a random country to any viewers from China. You're the future of the game. I'm going to pick a country every round to highlight. Unfortunately, there is no Scrabble scene in China yet. There should be.
Yes, come on, China, play more Scrabble.
Exactly. The joys of frivolity. Yeah, it doesn't get better than this, folks. And I think Austin will be comforted when analyzing this later that when he sees the Will's draw after Sunk, he'll realize that he was right there with a chance.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. The stream's happy. Yeah. I mean, I'm impressed.
All right, folks. Sorry, we were both simultaneously gonna go for the outro there. Yeah, hope the rest of the game stayed this high quality. Stay tuned. We'll have our next match live shortly. And let's see who won the poll.
Maybe that's correct.
Looks like we'll have Brad Whitmarsh and Dave Wiegand potentially. So you guys aren't going to want to miss that.
Yeah.
See you all very shortly.